Closed for the season, Chapter 8. Arthur yanked his Raleigh out of its hiding place in the weeds. Billy is a despicable ignoramus with the social presence of a flea, just like his brothers and his sisters and his aunts and his uncles and his cousins, the ones in jail and the ones on probation and the ones who haven't been caught yet. I tugged my bike free of the clinging kazoo vine. 5 more minutes and it would have been completely engulfed. He doesn't think much better of you either. I doubt he likes you any better. Well, I wasn't the one sassing on him. I was provoking him. Arthur glanced over his bony shoulder at me, not sassing him. Not sure of the difference between sassing and provoking, I stared at Arthur. Why? I just told you, he's a despicable ignoramus. Arthur laughed and shoved his bike uphill towards the remains of the Magic Forest parking lot. Plus, he was getting on my nerves. At the edge of the parking lot, we came to a quick stop. Nina and Billy seemed to be arguing. She gestured and he shook his head. Under the dark, towering clouds, they looked small and sort of helpless. Even Billy. I bet Billy's mad at Nina for offering us a ride, I said. Arthur scowled. He'd better be nice to her. Suddenly Billy turned and saw us. "Get over here," he yelled. You think I've got nothing to do but wait for you?" He threw our bikes in the truck's bed and told us to get in the cab. The back seat, there was barely enough room for Arthur and me, but it was better than riding out in the open with the bikes. Before Billy started the engine, the rain hit the windshield in huge drops. To the east, a jagged fork of lightning shot across the sky, followed by a clap of thunder loud enough to make Nina and me jump. Rocked by the wind, the truck lurched out of the weedy parking lot and onto the road. Every time we hit a bump, Arthur's and my knees and elbows jostled each other. His skinny little bones felt as sharp as iron rods. Arthur leaned over the seat and said, Don't you love thunderstorms, Nina? Can't you just see Thor up there tossing his lightning bolts at Earth? She cringed at the sound of thunder, but Billy shook his head. "Thor?" he snorted. "What are you talking about?" "He's one of the most powerful gods," Arthur said scornfully. "I thought everybody knew that." Billy stopped the pickup so suddenly. We all flew forward. Turning to Arthur, he said, "If there's one thing I hate, it's a smart-mouthed kid. You want to get out and walk home?" "Sorry," Arthur muttered. I was glad he had enough sense to apologize. The rain was coming down so hard that we might as well have been going through a car wash. But not everybody keeps their nose in a book, bud. With that, Billy stepped on the gas. The tires slid on the gravel, and the pickup fishtailed a little. Nina cried out. I fastened my seatbelt, but Arthur just gazed at the rain blurring the world outside his window. By some miracle, he seemed to have lost his appetite for talking. "Please drive carefully, Billy," Nina said. "I hate thunder and lightning and rain." "We'll say a prayer to Thor," Billy suggested. No one laughed except Billy. Hunched over the steering wheel, he concentrated on driving. Though the upper part of his face was visible in the rearview mirror, I still couldn't see his eyes. He had kept those sunglasses on despite the steamy windshield and dark sky. After that, nobody said anything. When we passed the Toot-and-Tote, I said, "To get to our houses, turn right on the street, then—" "You don't need to give me directions," he muttered. "Everybody knows where the murder house is." I slumped beside Arthur. Great. I lived in the murder house, and everybody knew where it was, and everybody knew what happened. At last, Billy pulled in our driveway, and we hopped out to get our bikes. Without looking at either Arthur or me, Billy slammed the pickup into reverse and backed out of the driveway. Nina leaned out her window and waved to us. "Bye, boys. Nice to see you again." Arthur and I stood under a big tree and watched the pickup splash off through sheets of water running across the road. What a creep. Arthur turned and started for home just as his grandmother stepped out on the porch. Police whistle raised. "Where have you been?" she hollered at him. "I was about to file a missing persons report." "Riding bikes with Logan, and then the rain started." Arthur glanced at me and waggled his eyebrows as if he were warning me to keep my mouth shut about the Magic Forest. That was fine with me. My parents would have grounded me for a week if they knew where I'd been. "And guess who brought us home?" Arthur said. "Nina Stevens and Billy Jarman." Nina was with Billy Jarman? Up went Mrs. Jenkins' penciled eyebrows. "I told her to hire Johnny." "Johnny was busy," Arthur said. "He told her to ask Billy." Mrs. Jenkins sighed. "Well, I'm sure he can show her some interesting places." With that, she herded Arthur across the street, across the yard, and into the house. At the same moment, the Jenkins' screen door slammed behind him. Mom appeared in our kitchen window and called me. The minute I walked through the door, I got a long lecture of the importance of telling people where I was going and when I was coming back. I hemmed and hawed, and I fudged to keep from revealing where I had actually been. But I said that I was sorry, and I apologized and agreed to all of the charges against me. Yes, I was inconsiderate. Yes, I was irresponsible. Yes, I never thought of anyone but myself. And yes, and yes, and yes, guilty as charged. Both Mom and Dad were finally convinced I was truly repentant. I was allowed to sit down at the kitchen table and have my dinner all by myself. My parents had already eaten an hour ago, Mom pointed out with some vexation. While I was dining on cold mashed potatoes, cold broccoli, and cold chicken, Dad sat down across from me. Johnny said he saw you at the Tootin' Tote store on Route 23. What were you doing all the way out there? Oh, Arthur was showing me some more sights. Since when is a convenience store a sight? In Bealsville, a traffic light is a sight, I said. A dog peeing on a fire hydrant is a sight. A turtle crossing the road is a sight. A man trimming his hedge is a sight. Okay. Dad interrupted me just as I was getting warmed up. Johnny told me you were probably heading for the magic forest. He couldn't think of any other place out in that direction. It's none of Johnny's business where Arthur and I go. What does it matter to him anyway? Well, according to Johnny, the park's full of falling down ruins and it's overrun with snakes. Dad went on as if he hadn't heard me. It's also private property. If the police catch you out there, you'll be fined for trespassing. Arthur's gone lots of times, I told him, and he's never... Just because his grandmother lets him wander all over the state of Virginia doesn't mean that you can do the same. Do you hear me? Yes, I hear you. Picking up my empty plate, I carried it to the sink. I'm kind of tired. Do you mind if I take a shower and go to bed? It's only 7 o'clock, Dad said. It was a long bike ride. After my shower, I settled down in bed with my library book, but my brain was flashing with images of the magic forest and Billy and Nina. I wonder where they had gone after Billy dropped Arthur and me in front of our houses. What if he had asked her for a date? Would she go? It was too disgusting to think about. If only I was older. If only. An hour or two later, Mom and Dad came upstairs, their voices loud in the quiet house. I put down my book and listened. Rhonda told me I should encourage Logan to join a team before school starts, Mom said. She also said I should discourage him from making friends with a kid like Arthur. Rhonda? Dad muttered, I'm so sick of hearing about her and her opinions on everything. If she thinks Arthur is unsuitable, I say encourage Logan to play with him. You and your weird sense of humor, Mom snapped. Can't you ever take anything seriously? I'm perfectly serious, Dad said. Logan is old enough to choose his own friends, and she has no business sticking her nose in our son's life. But Arthur takes some getting used to, Dad said, but he's a good kid. Smart, too. He even likes to read. He took Logan to that awful place? I've talked to Logan about that. He realizes the danger, and I don't think he'll go back there. But even if he does... At that point, the bedroom door closed, and I heard no more. But even if he does, I lay back and grinned. Who knows what Arthur and I might do? I didn't have a clue myself, but whatever it was, it would be better than Little League, and it wouldn't be any of Rhonda's business.